Hello, everyone, and welcome to Schmidtless Live. I'm Kurt Schmidt, your host, president and partner at Foundry, and today's show is meant to inspire and educate leaders in technology and design. Today, I am very excited to be talking to my friend Natasha about what makes a great product manager. What makes a great product manager? Well, there's so many things that go into that, and I'm going to be speaking with Natasha, and she's going to tell us all about her experience and what she's seen in the past that has been, something to turn yourself into a great product manager. I want to jump right in and say hello to Natasha. Natasha, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Thanks for taking the time to join me.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you're at Körber, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So tell me what's your role there? What do you do there? And you've been there for a little while, right?
Yeah, a little under 3 years.
Okay.
So Körber Supply Chain is a collection of companies, and I sit in the software division area, and I'm a product manager for a couple of the warehouse management systems.
Mm-hmm.
So small to medium business and something called the enterprise level of third-party logistics. So
Great.
I learn a lot about supply chains.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So how did you get into product management? I mean, I haven't met a product manager that went to school and got a degree in product management yet. I mean, not in this space, I should say. Maybe in, engineering or something. But
Yeah.
how did you get into the role of a product manager?
So I was an intern actually. I went to the University of Minnesota and actually was an engineer major, mechanical engineering actually, and I was an intern at Honeywell, and we're working on thermostats. And I was sitting in a meeting one day as a young intern, going, I like engineering, but there's more to engineering than this in products. And I met a couple of product managers in the meeting, and how they talked and what they thought about and what questions they had.
Mm.
I remember leaving that meeting and going, I want to be them. So basically, I hunt these product managers down. I remember having a conversations with them saying, tell me a little about your role as a product manager, and not knowing what that was at the time, because when you're in the engineer school, they don't talk about product management. They just talk about engineering. And I asked them how they got to product management, and both of them were engineers at Honeywell at one point, and then crossed over into the business side and got their masters,
Mm.
MBAs. And then, it was many years before they crossed to product management. And I asked them, how do I do it today? I don't want to
Right.
wait
I don't
years.
want to wait.
I really want to go across into product management. And I decided that it was something I was going to pursue. So I actually doubled and went over to the business school and doubled with business in addition to. So hoping that my combination of engineering and business would be the hybrid that's necessary to product management. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it was just seeking that, first experience of meeting somebody and seeing yourself in that person and saying, I care about the design of it. I am not so excited about all the little nuts and bolts to try to create it together, right?
Right.
Knowing the whys versus the hows was what I kind of went through as a product manager.
Yeah, that's awesome, Natasha, because that's exactly where I wanted to start with. And that's what I've seen in great project managers is a real focus on the why, not the how. And from your experience, is that a good telltale sign of a great product manager that they're really focusing on why this, why does this exist, why are they using it, why are we building it this way? Is that is that
Yeah.
is that from your experience you find that?
I find that good product manager is very curious and they do ask a lot of why. I mean, if you think about it, products are a combination. There's a lot of different whys, and innovations is a combination of the next why in addition to your own whys. So I did find that curiosities and being really interested in how the world works is good characteristics of good product manager. I mean,
Yeah.
part of it, that curiosity is wondering, how is this different and how could it be better and
Yep.
what's around the corner?
Yep. Well, and that's the thing is that it's such a unique role because it does take in all those places that you brought up, right? There's the business, there's the engineering, there's also marketing.
Yep.
The marketing one seems to be, one that I've seen people get into product management from one of those three kind of angles. It's very rare they come in like yourself with, kind of two things, two foundational skill sets, right? Do you find when you've been sourcing and looking for product managers, I mean, what are the skill sets you're really looking for when you're interested in hiring people to come on board at your company?
I think it's somebody that's diverse is good. I mean, you have, skills and competencies, but also sort of the personality. I mean, product management is not an easy role. You're in a sort of a hub areas interfacing with all the different divisions and roles of the company. You work with sales, you work with marketing, you work with the executive team, you work with services, you work with engineering, I mean, you name it, you work with everyone. I think I've met almost everyone in every single department across my different companies.
Yeah.
And because you're at the end of the day, you're responsible to the end-to-end experience of your product. You may be entrenched with the development team, but at the end of the day, your product gets to your customers and create value impact. Until that actually happen, really don't have product. I mean, you don't really have something that is sellable if you don't have that understanding of end to end. So if I can't get my professional service team to screw in my product, or implementation team, or engineers from, and this is a software world, I came from a hardware world also,
Mm-hmm.
and if it's hard to troubleshoot, or you can't read it and understand how to use it, you don't have a product. You basically have problems, and it comes back to you saying that your product is not well designed. Well, it's actually a training issue, or it's a document issue, or it's internal training issue. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of understand and follow your little baby around and say, okay, did you go to school? Did you do your homework? Did you grow up? And it's always interesting to what people think their silo is part of. At the end of the day, it always comes back to product.
Yeah.
If
Yep.
a customer doesn't understand something, it could be it's your product problem, but not specifically your actual product. It could be your enablement of the training. So at the end of the day, your customer's always going to say it's a product problem.
Right. And that's, I mean, yeah, the everything kind of rolls into product. And I love that you talked about the people skills that you need to have in product management, a high EQ, right? A ability to get buy-in from other areas, because to your point, you're not actually pushing code to production. You're not actually usually doing the final high fidelity designs. You're not usually writing the marketing copy. So you really need to build a coalition as a good product manager, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
You don't have any direct report except responsibility over the product.
Right.
So you have a lot, your job is to get the highest level of influence possible. They have to believe in your vision, understand the problem, understand what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it. And the people skills, I would say you're a little bit of a coach, a little bit of a cheerleader, because you got to rally the development team or
Hmm.
whoever on that, a little bit of facilitator and a little bit of a mediator.
Yeah.
So I find that over the years, I've combined a bunch of different areas of skill areas, just because, you can think of the fundamentals of product management. You can think of, I need a price, I need to understand market position. But do you know how to negotiate between two people fighting
Yeah.
and facilitate
Right.
a common level of understanding to get agreement in a very short period of time?
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. And that's where I think, to your exact point, I think it's the same in other pivotal roles inside of organizations, is that, you do have your responsibilities, but in order to move that vision forward, or that those goals forward, you've got to take people with you. You can't just barrel over them. You've got to show them the value that they're going to get out of, helping support your mission and your product. So it can't just be throwing data in front of them and saying, read it and weep. See, we lost users because we implemented that button. So get rid of it. You've got to have good presentation skills, right?
Well, it's not in presentation. Tell the story.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, if you
Yep.
could tell a good story of what is happening in the field, to say, Susie couldn't do this, and this is what caused her to sleep, stay up at night. You can start getting a lot more emotional buy-in to people, right? People are about the stories. So you get to understand a little bit about storytelling. You can look at the data, but what does the data tell you? It's telling you some story, and if you can simplify it to the language of whoever you're talking to, it helps them understand it. So you find that you find these sort of like tribal, passing of knowledge, and you
Right.
say, well, let's sit around the campfire and talk about what happened yesterday and why we are not successful to what we're doing. And the story and them sharing their story with you, I mean, what is blocking them for being successful to help you implement the product or build the product, or understanding the data that you're giving them, is all about that set of stories. And it's very simple in some ways if you think about those pieces. It's like,
Sure.
what's the story I'm trying to tell? How would I tell this to my mom or my friends? Are we going to show a data chart and saying, well, it's not doing well? Why do they care?
Yep. Yeah, and again, that's the thing that I know some people who I've talked to and people I've mentored who are interested in moving to product management, and in some cases it seems like such a unicorn sort of position, right? I mean, how, if you've never been a product manager before and you're interested in getting into it, how can you get all that experience across all those different areas, the marketing, the business side, the development and design side of things? How have you seen people? I mean, if somebody asked you, how do I get into product management? What would be your advice? Would it be chase down people at the U of M and corner them and
No.
make them tell you?
I think part of it is, why do you want to be a product manager? I mean, that's the first thing. I wanted because I was so curious about good design of things going to the market and making impact. When I was a young, student at the University of Minnesota, I had to do some career coaching on myself and thinking, what are the things do I love? And I love design. I love the facet of design. And so that whole synthesis of understanding design helped me really think about the aspect of different competency I needed to do to be better design. I always
Hmm.
tell people, good design that creates impact is product. Good
Like,
design that creates no impact is really good art.
hmm. Yep, that's
So,
a great way to
I
put it.
mean, there's a little, I mean, so I'm not really an artist. I'm not that good, but I think I have created enough products that, have created impact, value to the business, value to, the consumers. And that's really what's exciting to me. The
Hmm.
idea of bringing good design forth that creates impact is really what they do. So if they have that fundamental love, I mean, I would have to say, going into a product management organization, a big Fortune 100 company, they weren't that good at product management. If I look back into those
Sure.
pieces, they were entrenched to the common things that already happened to product being what it was. I mean, our life cycle in that product area was 10 years. 10 years. So I could have done a little bit and done nothing to make an impact. Really?
Yeah,
Did I really do that good of a job? Did I really know the market? Did I really
sure.
do anything? So if you can turn around products and make them better, and that's kind of where my job came for Körber, is I actually took the job because it was not a good product. It had potential, but I really like turnarounds a little bit, because that fundamentals of good design and
Yep.
understanding needs and product market fit. I like challenges. I like problems. So to be able to get those in place and knowing how to change the ship to be able to create a good product is super exciting for me.
Yeah.
I like new things, and turnarounds is new. But if the product has been there forever and I can't do a single thing for 10 years, not so good. You just need a project manager at that time. You don't really need a product manager.
Right. No, you're just kind of keeping the lights on at that point. You're not
Correct.
you're not trying to make improvements. Well, because yeah, back to your point, I've noticed, especially in the larger organizations, moving to a product model has been difficult because you do have people that have worked there for 20 some years and they've got a project mentality. I've talked about it on the show before, executives who have a done mentality, like when's it going to be done? When's launch? And then we can all go back to doing other things. Um, that mentality is not just a skill set, but it's a cultural mentality. Like the culture in the organization has to shift in order for that to happen. Have you experienced the same?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I ask people when they say they have a title of product management, I ask them, do you have power and authority to change the product? If you don't, you may not be a product manager. You may be something else. I mean,
Yeah.
there's lots of people in the organization with titles for product management, but
Yep.
they may not be a product manager and they may not have the power and the authority and responsibility to it.
Right.
When somebody said something is done, I talk to them about the life cycle. It's like having, you birth something, you grow them up. Do you as a parent get to say you're done when they, get to kindergarten or when they go to high school or
Yeah.
when they graduate college? You don't get to say I'm done with you at the end of that stage. A product is exactly the same thing. It's going to go through stages, through birth into, the finality of like killing it. Like you have to be able to also kill a product
Right.
to cycle in the next generation of product to birth something else new. So it is a life cycle sort of strategy. So I can say my product is at its end of its life cycle. It's in triage, and I'm okay with that because it's going to have to go through triage into the end. And we're looking for my birth of my next product, and it's okay. It's the normal cycle of products.
Yep. Well, and maybe you can help, because I talked to a number, again, back to people that have interest in the role. Um, the differences between a product owner and a product manager. Can you talk to me about your experience with the differences in the role? Because I feel like, just like you were kind of mentioning, it's kind of different all over the place. But from your experience, what works? What have you seen work?
So I always explain product owners and product manager in this sort of what their day-to-day life looks like. So as a product manager, you're looking for the future. So you're looking to build a roadmap for a year to 5 years. So long-term strategy. So 80% yourself, 80% of your time is actually working with stakeholders and customers to understand what is the future look like long-term. So 80% strategic, 20% tactical. The product owner is actually executing off the plan we put in place for the year, basically, right?
Hmm.
So day to day, 3 to 6, so the 30-day, 60, 90, and year roadmap they're trying to execute off. So their day to day life is more internal to tactically with the development team. So 80% tactical to 20% strategic. But without understanding the 20% strategic, they won't know why we're building what we're building, right? They'll get
Yeah.
lost into the trenches of the problem of today versus the problem of the future. Make choices that is short term versus long term. So
Hmm.
I can't explain it in that way. And people that like know where they're going stay as product owners. If you don't like uncertainty, don't go to product management because all you have is a 5 year horizon of uncertainty. You have no idea where you're going. You have a target that will be moving, and you
Yep.
have to be okay with the change of moving the target based on what you're learning.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because it's a every day's a new day as a product manager when you walk in, which some people really enjoy that variety, and that anxiety at times, but other people don't. And but with that, kind of calming that anxiety. Back in my day, one of the things that really helped me when I was managing products was learning how to code. Actually, was actually learning how to do some of the work because I could better talk to those people and understand the challenges they were having. And same in design, like I spent time, understanding user experience design and these things that, the kind of everything around the orbit of it, so I could have better
Mhm.
conversations with these people. Have you found the same in your role? Is really trying to be able to not only speak the same language, but be able to come from a place of understanding?
Yeah, I mean, I have been in many different companies and I didn't have the expertise within the industries. And so
Hmm.
what do I do when I come from that world? Well, it is about listening and understanding and be able to synthesize the problem statement. I may not know the expertise of that particular industries, but I have friends or colleagues that can help me understand it better. So I think your alliance to other people with deeper expertise that's broader than yours,
Yeah.
that facilitation helps. But then the day you gotta try to get into your customers or whoever you're working with shoes, and immerse yourself to those experiences matter. So trying to go out into the field and doing stuff. I actually spent a day in a warehouse because I didn't come from back from work in a warehouse.
Yep.
I asked a customer if I could pick and pack. Can I do a job of a person in your warehouse for a day?
Can I be a part of the supply chain?
Yes, buy-based supply chain. See the pain points of using the systems, seeing the pain point of what the day-to-day life of these people are. The more you can immerse yourself into the experience, the better you are at. And then you start to get building blocks of it. I'm not going to be coding. That takes a lot longer of a skill set. I did take some time coding, but that was not my love. So I'm not going to immerse myself in that love.
Yeah.
But I'm going to immerse myself to understanding customer problems. And that could be done differently, right? Because the customer problem isn't so much always within the building blocks of the warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
It is more of what's the goals or have for the year or the quarter, and understanding those pieces. So I think that the more you understand, you took it via organically learning it and be able to talk to that level. I do it more of actually doing the role if I can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from a design perspective, I've always tried to immerse myself, and I'm not shy getting dirty. I've been at top of towers, top upside down.
Sure.
One of my senior project in school was to try to design a penguin exhibit, and I actually was a zookeeper for a day. So I always tell people, if you have a spinal project that means a penguin bites you in the knee, you mean you immerse yourself to the experience.
Yep. Well, I think zookeeping is a perfectly legit place to start with product management. You've got all sorts of different animals you got to keep in check. Well, that's great. I totally agree with that. I think really walking a mile in their shoes, those end users, those customers, it goes a long way for you to really understand the impact or the pain that your product can be causing folks. Because if you're there living it, you can take that knowledge back and really be able to champion a better version of the product because you've lived it yourself, instead of sitting up in some tower and kind of pointing at, well, this user, we could use less forms here or blah blah blah. It's like, this is where these people are at. I've talked to so many of our partners at Foundry about meeting people where they're at, and you can't meet people where they're at with a product unless you're there with them and understanding where they actually are. You can't just sit in a conference room and just dream up what they might be doing with it or using it, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only change your experience by changing the experience yourself.
Right.
I mean, and you can't only change your customer experience by changing their experience. So
right.
Got to take the first step.
Yep, exactly. You got to be the first step. So the last thing I wanted to ask you about is, what do you see for the future of product management? What are the skill sets and things that you're seeing, you're having to learn, or things that you're seeing that you're going to have to pay more attention to in the future? Obviously, there's this little pandemic thing going on and whatever, but are there things that you're seeing that you need to start paying closer attention to, other areas, other industries? Or is it more just continually doubling down on building the experience you have with the current product you're managing?
No, as a product person, you should never silo yourself into the industry you are. Should always look broader. How does advancement in other industry start to change and be in your industry? You think about it, you think of the cell phone and the technology of cell phone. How many other industry has leveraged that cell phone? It's not been just the cell phone. It's been in education. So you gotta be careful not to silo yourself. So the mass number of curiosity you have towards whatever you are interested in to broaden your scope of technology, the better you are at. I think that the more, I mean, if you look at just Thomas Edison and how he did it, he was so curious. I see videos and pictures of him like sitting with technology leaders in a campsite in a suit, learning about what they're doing. Right?
Sure.
I mean, that's a combination of stuff you need. I would love to sit with all the amazing technologists in the world and talk about physics and aerospace and robotics and artificial intelligence and nanotechnology. I would love that stuff. But you hopefully can get like a synthesis of stuff that's happening and start and just ask yourself, I wonder when that's going to impact my industry. I wonder when this will cross over. I wonder if and then when there starts to be an inkling of like an idea to it. I've seen so many hybrid crosses between industry. I see something and I cross it over into this industry that create a value. You didn't have to, invent it, but you just had to cross it.
Right.
So, this crossing of technology is going faster and faster from a technology perspective. The second thing is, from a product perspective, is just that in data. Data is immense, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you need to be a data scientist, but you need to partner with people that can help you get to the right set of data to tell the story you need to. Hopefully, you're not manipulating a story; you're just getting the story from the data. Because you, as a product person, can always manipulate the stories to what you want. So just getting on top of how data can help you. One of the things is when I said there's uncertainty in the future, you can use a lot of data to help you understand what is going to happen in the future. Just ask people, hey, what's happening within this industry, or ask your customers what's happening within their industry. So the pulse of just asking and having that relationship to ask helps me as a product person. Like, I can go and talk to somebody in robotics. Hey, what's happening in robotics? And understanding a little bit more about, is it going to affect everyone? Is it going to happen? It's going to affect transportation. It's going to affect supply chain. It's going to help with, e-medicine. The robot's going to give you a little insulin. You have no idea, but if you can imagine it, it could probably happen. Right. So having this wide network of people to ask is great. Or, Google is your best friend.
Sure.
It's amazing how much you can ask questions and it can give you insight, but it's a lot of data. So you have to synthesize the question you're trying to ask and do those sort of things. And then lastly is the courage to try as a product person, right? Because it is so easy to get into your mindset of being wrong, which you probably are mostly wrong, but you want to be mostly right and less wrong. So little experiments can help you get through that biggest gap of not knowing. Try something, see if it works. Try something, see if it works. And there's lots of ways to prototype and experiment. It could be, synthesize of scenario, talking with your customers. If this happened, how would you think?
Yep.
And so I think that just the idea that you can trust yourself and the team to ask and try to figure out is the core competency of a product manager.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I've seen too much analysis paralysis with folks. And to your point, you're not in that role to not take risks. You've got to, because there's no rewards unless you take those risks.
Well, and then I always tell them, if you can count your hand, and this is a funny thing I tell people, if you count your hand to 5, there is a pattern. If you count to 10, there's probably a significant strategy to start to look at it more closely. I said, just use your hands. If you can see 5 people say the exact same thing, that's a pattern. If you get 10, that's pretty significant. That's hard to get to.
Right. Or maybe you can convince the other 5 that the other 5 are right.
Oh, yeah, you could try to do that too. But then you probably, at the end of the day, can't span after 10.
Yeah, then you're at a ceiling then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, Natasha, I don't want to take up any more of your precious time, but thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and teach us a little bit about your world and your experience. It's really been inspirational. I'm so happy to have you on the show. So if I want to continue the conversation, maybe I'm watching the show later, how can I find out? Maybe I want to reach out to Natasha for some mentorship ideas. Where's a good place to find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I don't respond as fast, but it's because you get busy. But if somebody wants to send me an email through LinkedIn, that's great. And then once I establish a relationship, usually I try to have coffee with people, but it's not happening lately.
Sure.
But I like to know people, what they're all about and why they want a relationship with me. So I don't grow my relationship just by, I know you, you know me, and we just know each other. I'd rather have a relationship of what's the value that we're exchanging with each other.
And that's smart.
So, so LinkedIn is a good one. And then I usually get the emails for that. Cool. And then you can see my background. You can stalk me and give me my background of things you're interested about talking to me about.
That's awesome. Yeah. And, to your point, mentorship is such a huge part of being a successful product manager. So if anybody's watching, I definitely suggest, if not Natasha, make sure you're reaching out to people in the industry and building that mentorship, and those people to work with to ask those questions. Like Natasha had that great advice there. So I thought that was really valuable. So thanks, Natasha. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Go back to here. Okay. Hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe and keep watching because we've got a lot more stuff for product managers, for engineers, for salespeople. We've got a lot of great content coming up. So if you haven't already subscribed, and thank you again to Natasha. I really appreciate her taking the time, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch the show. So we'll see you next time.